Talking about inclusiveness, we are going to jump into the next panel session for the day, which is the Women's Forum. I hope the panelists are here. Driving inclusive innovation in Africa's startup ecosystem, and I would call up the panel. Adesuwa Okunbo-Rhodes, founder, Aruwa Capital, Moderator. Please a round of applause for Adesuwa. Is she here? All right, Adesuwa, please a round of applause as she walks onto the stage. Zainab Salami, co-founder, M-Switch. Again, Adesuwa Okunbo-Rhodes, could you please come up the stage? Zainab Salami, are you here? We also have Mayor Boykin, business leader. Dr. Osasuyi Dirisu, Executive Director, Policy Innovation Center. And Dr. Tewa Onasanya, Founder, CEO, Exquisite Magazine Services Limited. Please welcome the entire panel onto the stage. All right.
Hello, I think I'm the moderator. Thank you, hello. So if there's only three. Hello? Okay. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this panel. We are very excited to get into it. We have three people joining me on the panel. So I'll just give an opportunity to each panelist to introduce themselves and the firms that they represent, and then we'll go into the questions. So over to you, Dr. Tewa.
Right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. You're not encouraging us if you're quiet. Good evening, everybody. Yay. Thank you. My name is Dr. Tewa Onasanya. I am a mindset stylist and a multifaceted entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I'm the founder of Exquisite magazine, which is a fashion, wellness, and lifestyle magazine for the unlimited confident woman. I'm also the founder of the Eloy Awards Foundation, which is aimed at sustaining women empowerment and celebrating women as well. I'm an author. I've written 6 books. As a mindset stylist, I say that I help women and men, entrepreneurs, to harness the mindset power they have to be able to put different structures in place to achieve the results that they desire. So that's me. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mia Boykin. I'm here all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana, USA. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. So I am a global entrepreneur and speaker. I'm also an award-winning humanitarian and a scholar. So the work that I do as a global entrepreneur is at the intersection of government, international business, and also entertainment. As I said, a scholar. I'm currently culminating a PhD in government and public policy, but I also have 2 international master's degrees in global business and also psychology. So very diverse background, as it relates to government, I'm also the Director of Partnerships and External Engagement for the Georgia House of Representatives. So I'm actively using all of my education, and I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you.
Dr. Osasuyi, can you hear us? We can't hear you. If the IT can help us. Okay, we'll come back to you, Dr. Osasuyi, until we get the virtual. Oh. Okay, try again.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. So please, your introduction.
I'm Dr. Osasuyi Dirisu. I'm the Executive Director at the Policy Innovation Center. We're based in Abuja, Nigeria, and Senior Fellow at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. I have a first degree in medicine and then a public health degree at master's and PhD level, and an MBA. But over the past 15 to 20 years, I have worked at the intersection of gender and issues relating to social inclusion. So at the Policy Innovation Center in 2022, I conceptualized a gender and development course that we run twice a year for both private and development sector. We've trained over 350 people till date. And then also host the Gender and Inclusion Summit, which we have run since 2022. And this is a platform that we developed to advance gender equity, social inclusion, and gender responsive governance in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. But beyond this work, I have led a wide range of research projects addressing vulnerabilities across the spectrum, from rape to gender-based violence to household decision-making for women, to intimate partner violence, to social cohesion, and all the different social issues that you can think about. And we also have a behavioral innovation lab where we keep reflecting, we do evidence-based insights to support innovative policy making and also ensure that solutions that are driving social impact have evidence of what works and would not increase vulnerabilities that we know that a lot of vulnerable populations also already face. I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Osasuyi. Thank you. So I'll come to Maya first. So we're talking about women's entrepreneurship. We're talking about, trying to really push through glass ceilings and how we can address the funding gap for women, address what we know are different unconscious biases that we have in society with regards to women's economic advancement. So my first question to you would be, women-led businesses, they often have faced challenges trying to access capital. Based on your experience, what innovative financing models or strategic partnerships have you seen work in terms of empowering women entrepreneurs, particularly in emerging markets as well?
Definitely, and thanks for your question. There's definitely a critical need for innovative financing models and strategic partnerships for these women entrepreneurs. So some of the ones that I highlighted include like crowdfunding platforms. For example, women can leverage these platforms like Kickstarter, Indiegogo to raise money without those barriers. Additionally, there's platforms focused on women, such as I Fund Women, which provides resources specifically for women entrepreneurs. Additionally, there's microfinance institutions like Grameen Bank and Kaiva. They've made significant strides in microloans to women in developing regions. They offer financial support as well as business training and mentorship. Also, there's impact investment funds. So there's a fund, a really interesting one, like Women's World Banking and the Bayin Impact Fund, which focuses on women-led businesses. Those organizations aim to create social impact while providing financial returns, and they enable these women to get some capital. Of course, public-private partnerships, collaborations between governments and private organizations can facilitate access to funding and resources. For example, with my company, Global Management and Marketing, I have a certification. In the US, it's called DBE, and it's for any disadvantaged business or enterprise, meaning you bring in less than 300 million revenue a year. So with that certification, for example, every state in America, they get a certain amount of money from the government, and 20% of that fund has to go to businesses with those certifications. So things like that. There is another one called She Trades Initiative. That's backed by the International Trade Center, and it connects women with entrepreneurs with buyers and market opportunities as well. There's accelerators and incubators, programs like Women's Startup Lab and the Girls Lounge, again, offering those mentorship, networking, and funding opportunities. And of course, technology and e-commerce platforms that I know a lot of people are familiar with, like Etsy or Shopify, that allows women entrepreneurs to reach global markets with a lower upfront cost. The last one that I would promote is local cooperatives and networks. So encouraging women to form cooperatives and enhancing their bargaining power to provide shared resources. So there's an organization called We Connect International, which promotes women-owned businesses by connecting them to the corporate supply chain. So by implementing these innovative financing models and fostering those strategic partnerships, we can create a more equitable environment that supports women entrepreneurs in emerging markets.
Thank you very much, Maya. Thank you for giving practical examples as well, so that the women entrepreneurs in the audience can go back and look at some of these platforms. So my next question is to you, Dr. Tewa. So we always talk about women being visible, and we always talk about, closed mouths don't get fed. So how has, what impact have the Eloy Awards had in creating visibility and opportunities for women across industries?
Right. Thank you very much. I see you've been reading, watching some of my stuff. Okay. So the Eloy Awards is a platform, like I said earlier, that celebrates women of excellence in different fields. And over the years, we realized that even though a lot of women are doing exceptionally well in different sectors, a lot of women are still quite shy to talk about it. I know for so many years, I've been in business for over 21 years, and I know that for a good part of those years, I was shy and behind the curtain, saying that, let my work speak for me, I don't need to be out there. But we realized that if we don't speak out, nobody will know what we're doing. If we don't, in a way, toot our own horn, nobody will know that, oh, you've been able to achieve X, Y, Z. And that's what the Eloy Awards Foundation is about, to bring women onto the forefront, to show that if this woman can do it, you can do it as well. To also show that women are doing well in certain fields that ordinarily may be male-dominated. So we've used the Eloy Awards platform to make them more visible. And over the years, we've seen a lot of the women that have been nominated or even awarded an Eloy Award move on to better, because they become even more confident in themselves. And they also, they also have this, a lot of people have said this to us, that when they get nominated for an Eloy, they feel seen. Which is, a lot of people don't feel so. You're doing so many things, but sometimes you're not seen by the people you want to be seen by, so to speak. And a lot of these women have come to us and say, I feel seen. I feel like my work is not in vain. So we've created that platform and also work with different organizations to be able to continue to do that as well. This year, the Eloy is in its 17th year.
Wow.
So for the past 17 years, we've been celebrating women of excellence, and it has also evolved away from just being an awards company to a foundation that empowers women. So what we do is business owners, we encourage them, we train them about the mindset for success. Being successful means that you have to be proud of what you're selling and go out there. I say to them, carry your market on your head, so to speak. You must be visible. You must use the platforms that are available. You must showcase yourself. And like you rightly said, closed mouths don't get fed. If nobody knows what you're doing, if nobody knows who you are, nothing's going to happen. The business won't grow. And we also use the magazine as a platform for visibility as well. So we're showcasing some of these winners on our platforms. We're showcasing women in business on our platform. Sometimes we do showcase men, so we're not completely biased. We do showcase men as well. But Exquisite magazine is there for us to be able to showcase people that ordinarily won't even have a platform or would probably think that it's too expensive to be there. But visibility is key. Visibility matters because people will do business with who they know.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. And wow, 17 years.
Yes.
That's an amazing achievement.
Thank you.
So I'm going to come to Dr. Osasuyi, if she's still on the Zoom line. Is she still there, or should we just...
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. So Dr. Osasuyi, we also, going above the capital gap, going above visibility, there's also an element of policy, there's also an element of advocacy that needs to come into the kind of the gender gap conversation. So how has your research over the years shaped policy interventions addressing gender inequalities in our society?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So I'll start from the most recent example. So in the last couple of years, we've been working to support the Edo State government to develop a digital policy. And one of the things that was at the center of developing that policy was advancing an inclusive digital transformation ecosystem in the state. So we first of all conducted a digital readiness assessment. We had over 7,500 citizens across all local governments participate in that survey. And one important component of that survey and the other interviews that we had as part of that was understanding the inequities that would impact on women having access to digital tools, or creating a policy enabling environment that is making everyone else thrive except women. And so looking at some of the insights that came from that policy, from that research project, I'll give you one or two quick examples. As part of that work and another work we did on research work we did on NIN, uptake of foundational identity, or the NIN, by women. Some of the conversations were, I don't have a bank account because I've had issues with my husband in the past, issues relating to GBV, and issues relating to household decision making. And, but doing that research, we took some of those insights and put that into the policy. So the policy process also was co-created. We invited, despite the insights we had from research, we invited everyone to the table, coconut sellers associations, plantain sellers, market women, rural women, smallholder agricultural farmers. We brought everyone to the table, understood their felt needs, and ensured that the policy, which has now been launched, and we're in a policy advocacy phase, to ensure that that policy would speak to the needs of women. Because we've seen over and over again where you develop policies as a tool, but the policy inadvertently, as an unintended consequence, has elements that actually would drive exclusion further. But just to give a few other examples, on the Nigerian for Women project, I also led the social norms exploration that informed how to empower women without causing a lot more vulnerabilities within their households. Because one of the most important things we need to put in place when you want to undertake a women's empowerment program is, how is this going to impact on the perception of everyone who begins to see the woman doing well. So some of the things, some of the pillars we looked at in that research was ownership of productive assets. What are the cultural and social cultural norms around ownership of productive assets, household decision making, a decision about going to the hospital, things that a woman needs to take permission from her husband to do, and just bringing all those insights into the design of the program to ensure that, by the time we start anticipating what the outcomes will be for women, they'll be better off. I mean, one quote that never leaves me from that research is, a man who said that, well, you can empower my wife, as much as you want, but if the okra tree is growing taller than the owner, then we have to cut it down. So he was saying, as long as my wife doesn't end up doing better than me, I'm fine. But you see, that's why it's really good to use evidence-driven insights for decision making. And just speaking quickly to so many other things I've done, I also led a research study that informed how to put girls, increase, enrollment of girls in schools without also creating, more harm. And that has informed a lot of policy conversations around, all these conversations about bringing out of school children into schools and ensuring that girls especially are safer in that process. I also led the development of the National Gender-Based Violence Dashboard. And as part of that process, we conducted a national GBV survey, just ensuring that we're looking at what the insights say, and we're right there to make those recommendations for policy. The last example I will give is the work we did on clinical management of rape in Borno State some years ago. There was evidence that a lot of women had been sexually assaulted, but they were not coming to all the beautiful facilities that humanitarian partners have set up. And so when we did this research, we found out that the reason why the women were not coming was because the rape facilities were embedded in antenatal care centers. And so the women told us that if anyone in the community or in the IDP camp sees me battered, wounded, injured, raped, walking into an antenatal facility, everyone will suspect that I'm pregnant, and they will start looking for, how to do something, harm me, because, who is the owner of the pregnancy? And I'm supposed to take permission anyway before I walk out of the home and go for rape services. And so that research project informed separating rape care centers from antenatal facilities. In fact, they call the rape centers like well-being clinics where women can just walk in and have a conversation about their health. But within those centers, they were also now getting rape services. So these are just some of the so many examples in the last few years that, weaving evidence and insights into the process of either designing policies or designing innovative solutions for gender equity and social inclusion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Osasuyi, for that very, very impressive answer. You've definitely been very busy, so thank you so much for your contributions there. So I'll come back to Amir, and I want to ask you about the ecosystem shifts that we'll need, because this is not something that can happen overnight. So through your humanitarian and business initiatives, I know that you've worked across multiple continents. So what key policies or ecosystem shifts do you believe are crucial for fostering an inclusive innovation landscape that enable women businesses to scale beyond their local market?
Definitely, that's a great question. So there are some key factors for example, the policy interventions for women entrepreneurs. One of those policies definitely would need to be a gender-inclusive investment policies. For example, government should mandate that a certain percentage of venture capital and public procurement funds to be allocated to women-led businesses. There's an initiative like the 2x Challenge, which mobilizes gender-smart investments, and that is an example of something that can be expanded. Trade and export support. Policies that facilitate access to global supply chains. That's a big one. There's one called She Trades Initiative, and it's recognized by the International Trade Center. This one helps women entrepreneurs to export their products and services internationally. And again, legal and financial reform. So removing legal barriers related to business ownership, collateral capital, and credit access is essential. For instance, policies that support alternative credit scoring, they can open a lot of doors for women. As it relates to the ecosystem shifts to support women entrepreneurs, of course, the access to digital infrastructure and technology, women must have affordable internet access, digital payment solutions, and e-commerce tools so they can scale globally. I spoke about platforms like Shopify, but there's also Paystack and Flutterwave, which enables cross-border transactions. Bridging the funding gap is really key as well. So more gender lens investment funds and women-focused accelerators, such as the Cartier Women's Initiative and SheEO. Those are both needed to provide early-stage capital. Corporate and institutional partnerships. So large corporations should be incentivized to integrate women-owned businesses into their supply chains. We Connect International already connects women entrepreneurs with multinational companies. Cross-border mentorship and networks. Hello?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Okay.
the mic is still working. That's great. Women entrepreneurs will benefit from these peer-to-peer learning and also mentorship networks like Vital Voices and Albright. And lastly, cultural and social shifts. So advocacy and education, they are crucial in changing perceptions around women in leadership and entrepreneurship. So more women-focused media, like my lovely panelists here, are women-focused media. So we need more of that, and that will definitely help to accelerate the shift. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just to talk about bridging the funding gap, because I didn't introduce myself, which I should have, but I run Aruwa Capital Management, which is one of the few women-owned VC funds and PE funds on the continent. And we're actively doing one of the things you mentioned, which is gender lens investing. So we're only investing in businesses that are female-led, female-founded, or benefiting women somewhere in that value chain. And we count every year the number of women-owned fund managers, because we think that to really address that funding gap, you need more women allocating capital. It really needs to start from the top. And it will surprise you to know that in the whole of the African continent, there are only 23 funds that have successfully reached a closure of their funds since 2008.
Wow.
That are women-owned and women-founded. So there is an uphill battle, even at the top of the ecosystem in terms of the capital allocators, them being able to get the money to then invest in women. It really has to start both at the capital allocation level so that it reaches the female entrepreneurs. But thank you. I think that those are very, very good examples of the ecosystem shifts that have to happen to ensure capital flow, to ensure scalability of female-owned and female-led businesses. So I'll come back to you, Dr. Tewa. So you mentioned you have your foundation, you mentioned you have a media company. So what strategies do you use to balance entrepreneurship with advocacy and with philanthropy as well, while staying true to the mission?
What systems? Did you say what systems?
Strategies.
What strategies, right. Interesting question, and thank you very much for that question, because I do get a lot of people who ask me that I'm an advocate, I'm a philanthropist, I'm a cervical cancer prevention advocate as well. How do I do all of these things? And as well as being true to myself, I'm a mother as well and a wife and all those other personal stuff. But over the years, and I have been in business for over 21 years, Exquisite magazine started in 2003, and a few things that I have tried to stay true to is to, number one, be very clear about my vision and my values as well. I used to use a hashtag on Instagram many years ago the hashtag was the vision is clear. And that's to remind me and other people, my followers, that once your vision is clear, the roadmap to where you're going to might not necessarily be clear, but you know where you're going to at the end of the tunnel. So you know how you're, navigating yourself to get to the point you want to get to. So I have been able to identify what my vision is, what my mission is, and also set clear values for myself as well. And I won't call what I do a balance. I would say in being able to integrate what I do. Because really and truly, in life, there is no balance. I mean, we try to juggle all these balls, but, one day we're going to drop one. And the reason I say integration is because I now choose what's important at what point. And then I'm able to work through it. So what's important today? Is it Exquisite Magazine? Is it the Eloy Awards? Is it the cervical cancer prevention? Is it my writing? Because I do write and I have 6 books that are on the market. Wow. Is it my mindset coaching business as well? So I identify what is important at one point. And is it my children? Even though my children are adults now, they're 21 and 18, but they still need their mom. I mean, I need them as well, and then my husband. So I try to integrate my work into my life, so to speak, so that one isn't suffering for the other. Because if we're doing too many things at the same time, we won't be able to sustain it, and one will suffer for the other. So I know when my children are supposed to, when they were younger, I know when I'm supposed to be in their school, and if I can't, know how that will work. And then when I need to be in Exquisite or Eloy meetings, I know what to do and, how to identify that. So clearly set my boundaries as well and integrate my work. Another big thing for me is a great support network. I'm talking about family, I'm talking about friends, I'm talking about staff as well, people I work with. I'm talking about organizations that we collaborate with. I'm not perfect, but one way or the other, we've been able to find a way to work together. So we're also, we're supporting one another in what we're doing. And family, very important, because when the kids need to do something and you're not able to, at least you have somebody who will do that. And as you grow, as I grew in my business, I identified things that needed my attention and things that I could delegate to other people. And that's the same with work as well. Just because I'm the founder of the company doesn't mean I have to do everything. I delegate. A lot of people find it hard to delegate because you're so like, this is my stuff, this is my baby. I want to hold on to it. So, I try as much to delegate. And I'm saying this now, but it wasn't always like this. I had to find my path, which is, going back to what I said earlier about knowing where your mission is, your vision, and then, just directing yourself to get to that part. Another big thing for me, which is I can't compromise on it, is self-care. With Exquisite Magazine, so before now, Exquisite Magazine used to be a fashion, beauty, and lifestyle magazine. Over the years, it evolved to be a fashion, wellness, and lifestyle magazine because wellness is very, very important. Well-being is very, very important. So I prioritize myself. When I need to take that rest, I take the rest. When I need to, do something for myself, I make sure that I'm doing it for myself. Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If anything happens today, next person is going to jump up and do the work. So I don't compromise on self-care. Going to the spa, going to a restaurant to eat, good meal. I might look like this, but I do love food. Going to the restaurant to eat, a good meal. Taking that time to unwind. Meditation is very, very key for me. Maybe that goes with my mindset styling background, but I'm very, very big on meditating to quieten the mind, collect your thoughts, so that, the ideas you need to move to your next level will be ministered to you, so to speak, in the spirit. I say minister because I'm a Christian. Will come into your spirit. But those are the kind of things that I do. Mindfulness as well, taking in the moment. And I'm saying that now because I'm seasoned in business. I've been in business for 21 years. It'll be 22 years in September. But like I said, I wasn't always like this. And situations in your life will show you when you need to do better. I remember in 2009, I was all about, get the work done, do the job, rest when it's done, or I'll rest when, God forbid, I die kind of thing. But sometimes your body speaks to you And when you don't listen to your body will arrest you. So in 2009, I was, doing all my work and blah, blah, blah. And I just said, oh, my head hurts. And the next thing I passed out and they couldn't revive me for a while. Wow. So at that point, after I came back, very thankful that I'm still here, I said to myself, you know what, I have to prioritize my health. Yes, I have to go to those meetings. Yes, I have to, boxes to tick and things like that. But you need to take care of yourself. You need to be, number one, taking care of yourself. Because like I said earlier, you can't pour from an empty cup. So that's very, very important. So I do all of these stuff, not because I'm perfect and not because everything is working as they should, but I have found a way to integrate my work into my life, so I'm resting when I'm meant to be resting, and I'm doing the hard work when I'm meant to be doing the hard work, and I'm delegating to my support network as well.
That's a great response.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope that the female entrepreneurs were taking notes. It's not about balance, it's about integration. That's such a great way to look at it. So we'll come back to you, Dr. Osasuyi, if you are still there, and talk to you about how can women leaders be effective in improving governance and accountability. We know that Nigeria has one of the lowest rates of female participation in politics. So how can we improve governance and accountability in Nigeria as women leaders? What can we do?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Tewa for the free self-care lesson. Truly appreciated. So going to this question, I think one of the biggest things that we need to do, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So one of the biggest things we need to do as women leaders is create platforms for mentorship. And first of all, we need a critical mass to achieve the sort of impact that we want to see. So whatever space we find ourselves, we have to first tell ourselves that I can't and shouldn't go into this alone. I need to ensure that I'm raising generations of women that can come after me. So one of the things that we've reflected on over the last few years, which is why we set up the Gender and Inclusion Summit, is that realization that for advancing gender equity, for advancing women leadership, sustained advocacy is critical. So it's not advocacy for 2 years, or like Dr. Tewa said, she's been doing that magazine for 17 years now. So it's just understanding that it's advocacy on the long haul. So with that understanding, we know that whenever it's just, I'm the only woman in the room, I'm not trying to be exclusionary, right? I need to ensure that I can create an enabling atmosphere to ensure that there are a few more women coming after me. We keep growing older, we transit to other things, and sometimes we leave a vacuum. And so if you're trying to advance conversations about governance, accountability, and creating platforms where we can actually advocate, because it's not enough to be a leader. Some women have found themselves in positions only to realize that, I'm just a tokenistic leader, so I'm there as a figurehead because I haven't really taken time, or we haven't really taken time to create the influence, the power that comes with being a leader. So I don't want to be called just a woman leader, just like, give me that title. I want to make impact. And in doing that, the first thing I need to do is make sure that there are women coming after me. The other thing is we just completed a study, and it was an intersectional approach to understanding and addressing corruption. And one of the things, social norms that drive corruption, one of the things we're trying to look at in that research was the sort of gender dimensions to understanding and responding to issues related to corruption. And one of the things we found is that when women are found to do 1% of the things that a man may do, they may be hit with a much harder stick. The sanctions, the criticism, and all that is a lot more for women. And so raising the bar with how we reflect on accountability, how we reflect on creating governance, creating boundaries around ourselves. Some of the things that, other panelists have talked about today, putting those basic structures in place to ensure that as we're growing, we're creating the structure that enables us to look back and see that we're not just making impact, but we're creating systems. We're thinking through systemic approaches to change that would outlive us. So that when another woman steps into our shoes, we've actually created an opportunity for them to thrive, to do better, and then also advance more in leadership. I think the last thing I would say with this for women, because we also have that difficult task of, and I say this with every sense of apologies, like twice as much work sometimes you need to do to just prove that you deserve a seat at the table, right? We need to always think about what sort of new voice should I bring along with me? Is it bringing some male allies? Is it bringing young people? Is it bringing other women? Is it looking for a woman in political leadership? Is it looking for how to address some barriers? Is it advocating for policy? So we really need to map our ecosystem and ensure that if we want to grow and advance leadership at the level that we can say that participation for women is increasing, we need to understand the intentionality in not just thinking about what it means for me, for example, as Osasuyi in the Policy Innovation Center today, but what it means for so many other women who will be like thinking system, thinking for the future, thinking long term, and thinking about the sustainability of the systems that we're putting in place.
Very well said. Thank you so much. So I want to break up the panel a little bit and see if we have any questions from the audience. We've had really great contributions from the panelists. Any questions? Okay, we have one question there.
Thank you very much.
We can hear you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you so much for the speech. My name is Chisom Ifediora. I am a writer and also a speaker coordinator for the Omniverse, actually. Okay. So, my question now is, many African women face subtle pressure to tone down their ambition. Like Chimamanda Adichie said, when you do something, they say you do too much. When you read too much. So how do we unlearn this, both personally and culturally, as African women?
Okay, just to make sure that I got what you said, you're saying that women tone down their achievements?
Yes, we are asked to tone down, the pressure to tone down, to not be too ambitious. So how do we unlearn this? How do
you unlearn it
yes.
as a culture? So yes. I think that is for Dr. Tewa, obviously. So please help us answer the question.
Thank you so much for that. Right, how do you unlearn it? Number one, you have to be patient with yourself, because it took a while for the programming that once was there, and I'm saying once was there because from now on it's going to be changing. It took a while for you to get to where you are today with that mindset. And with what has been programmed into our minds that, women are meant to be quiet, women shouldn't talk, women shouldn't be ambitious, even if you're doing well, you shouldn't really talk about it. No, We're in an era where you talk about it, you toot your own horn, you say your achievements, closed mouths don't get fed. And there are people doing less than you that are talking about it and getting into those rooms.
Facts.
So, exactly. So you have to be patient with yourself and know that it's going to take time, but you have to constantly practice being out there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about patience again, because when you get to a certain point, you will still get to a point where you still feel like, oh, I still need to be a bit shy because you're in a room that, are with people who you think are higher than you in stature or education or whatever. So you need to go back to the drawing board again and relearn that part of you that was able to surmount a lower mountain and then now having to surmount a bigger one. It takes grace as well and being patient with yourself and you putting yourself out there. Most of these things are have come from a place of self-doubt from older generation. And that's because we were suppressed, that we shouldn't be seen. We shouldn't be heard. We should only be seen. But now you have to train yourself. I call it ruling your mind, restyling your mind and saying to yourself that this is a place that I need to be at. This is my voice is here for a reason. And I have to let the world hear it. Because every one of us are here because we have something to deliver into the world. So train yourself and put yourself in positions where you have to force yourself to be seen, to be heard, and to talk as well. Because practice makes perfect. When you begin to put yourselves in those rooms, your confidence will start building gradually. And then you have to talk nicely to yourself. When I say this, some people laugh and think, what do you mean talk nicely to yourself? But you have to. Just like you talk to other people or your children, coercing them to do what they want, you have to talk nicely to yourself as well and encourage yourself. It's important that you don't wait for other people to encourage you, but encourage yourself. And know that you are doing the best with what you know now. And when you know better, you'll be able to do better. Practice, practice, practice. That's the only way to build your confidence and move out of the comfort zone. And don't share your vision or don't share your thoughts with people that will put you down or with people that will say to you, women have never done it before, or don't do it, or don't venture into it. No. Once you've identified people who, when you speak to, they bring down your spirit or, they don't give you that ginger you need to push your vision forward, stop speaking to them. It's better to keep your words to yourself than to speak to these people. Another thing is you have to identify mentors and accountability partners that will support you on this journey. And you also have to research and look for women or men who are in that space that ordinarily, you would have thought they shouldn't be at or they wouldn't be at. So when you begin to see examples of other women doing what you desire to do, being able to speak out, being able to say, I am XYZ and I have done this before, I have done that before. See how they speak. Because there's a thin line between arrogance and self-confidence, if you understand what I mean. So see how they do it. Then now form your own person from that. When you say, and I always say this to people as well, that when you see a representation of where you're going in another person, it gives you that push. It gives you that confidence that if that person can do it, I can do it as well. The unlearning process takes a while, but it is doable. And you have to move out of your comfort zone and put yourself in positions where ordinarily you'd be scared to be at. I mean, I'm talking here today. In the past, maybe I wasn't that scared in the past because I've always loved talking. Even when I was in secondary school, I was in the debating club and things like that. But sometimes, before I get onto a stage, I still get that jittery feeling. And sometimes when I talk about what I do, I still get that, who are you to say you've done X, Y, Z? It took somebody telling me a few years ago, when I was telling that person about Exquisite magazine, about the Elon, and she's like, oh my God, you do this, you've done this, and I haven't done that much, but I'm everywhere. Why aren't you? And I'm just like, oh. So that made me think to myself that, okay, you're not really doing enough to push yourself and to put yourself out there. So you need to, and you can't wait for other people to speak for you. Because I used to think that, let the people we've empowered speak for us. Let the people that we've supported speak for us. No, you have to be that voice as well. And you need to speak up for yourself because nobody will speak up for you unless you speak to yourself. The world is not going to say, where are you? You have to say, here I am. And I'm standing tall and I'm here to stay.
So powerful, so powerful. Yes, the gentleman with glasses.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Paul Okoro is my name. I'm from Warri, Delta State. I want to ask a question. First of all, thank you to the panelists for your contributions and insights so far. Now, there is a digital policy for Delta State that I'm privileged to be in the drafting committee. And one of the things we try to include is gender inclusion. Now, Jesse, gender equity and social inclusion, people with disabilities, people that are marginalized and all of that. Now, when we're drafting it, some of my colleagues, there were people who said, these are not necessary. Let's just get the digital, the ICT part of things done. But because we have the support of SDN, and they were very intentional about this gender inclusion, we're able to put that in. But now it took us 3 years to get to this point because we didn't have a lot of support. So my question is this. I know you mentioned one organization, something about International Women Fund. I've looked it up, and I will look other ones as well. But are there other organizations? Because without SDN supporting the advocacy job that we do in Delta State, we wouldn't have made this progress in just a short period of time. So I would want to find out if there are other organizations that support gender inclusion advocacy work that we can also reach out to, because we know that at this point that we have the draft, doesn't end there. We need to still engage with larger stakeholders, talk to other people in government to ensure that it gets the passage and becomes law in Delta State. So I just want to find out if there are other resources that we could also, check on that can help us with that advocacy work. I will direct that question to the lady on orange. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was a great question. So I know you targeted me for that question because I work in policy with the Georgia House of Representatives. I just want to say, while I did list some of those gender inclusive policies, my state representative, who I'm doing policy research for and revisions, we aren't focused on that. We're actually focused on projects like sustainability, healthcare, equity, education, and business. So I'm not versed specifically on those gender inclusive policies outside of the one that I mentioned, which was the 2 times challenge. It's written as 2X challenge. But I'll definitely be doing additional research into gender policies. Thank you. I wish I could have answered that better for you.
I don't know if Dr. Osasuyi heard the question. I think through the work that she does with NESG, NESG is another great body for policy advocacy. So you might want to reach out to them as well. The One Campaign, I don't know if you've heard about the One Campaign, but the One Campaign are also very actively, lobbying for more equitable policies across Africa. So you can look them up as well. But great work in what you're doing, and well done for being persistent to include the fine print for women in those policies, because that's really where it starts. And if it's not written into law, people will not measure it, and we need measurement for accountability. So well done on what you're doing.
Yes, well done.
Can I add a few thoughts? I don't know if
Dr. Osasuyi, did you hear the question?
Okay, I did actually. So I mean, like I said, we're just off developing a digital policy for Edo State from scratch, and we've worked on this for the past couple of years. So first of all, just to say you're not alone. For most policy conversations that we have at the Policy Innovation Center where I lead, we always start those conversations because we have a gender transformative approach to the work that we do. So we always start that conversation internally from how do we ensure that we situate women, vulnerable groups, persons with disability right at the center of this policy, designing policy for humans. Now, it's never easy, so well done for all you have done, but just to know that it's never an easy process, whether it's a digital policy or a women's economic empowerment policy. It always helps to do a lot of work. So one is mapping your stakeholders, mapping the ecosystem, who are your allies, who are the people who are likely to go against it, doing a political economy analysis. And then from this, you can come up with almost like your theory of change, like from all the input that needs to go into the output and the outcome, which is this very inclusive policy at the end. Who do I need? What resources do I need? What support do I need? Technical and the rest. I also explained when I talked about our process of doing our digital policy, that we did a readiness assessment and we used the insights from that assessment as an advocacy tool. Because it's one thing to tell people to put gender at the center of this policy, and then they ask you, why is there even anything wrong? But when you have the evidence, you have the insights. I mean, proportion of women, so using evidence to guide decision making and evidence-based advocacy. So not just advocating for the purpose of, bring women in the center. No, we have data to show that 22% of women compared to, for example, 75% of women own mobile phones. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. We have the data to say that these are the inequalities, these are the gaps that we need to bridge.
Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Osasuyi. We're just wrapping up here. Our time is up.
Okay.
But thank you very much for that. Evidence and data is very important to drive home the point. So thank you so much. Well, thank you very much to the audience, and thank you to my panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.